Since this is my week of bitching and moaning, I want to talk about something today that really kind of chaps my ass. It's when you hear politicians from Donald Trump on down and community leaders and just do-gooders in general saying, we need more police on the streets. Well, that's ridiculous. We don't need more police on the streets. Why in the world would we need more police on the streets? We live in some of the safest times. In the last 30 years, crime has been declining at a steady and drastic rate. Violent crimes are falling like crazy. Now, some people will like to look at that falling line, and it kind of goes like this, and they'll be like, aha, it peaked up a little bit this year from last year. Yes, but it's still part of a very quickly declining trend. That's how you do statistics, by the declining trend. Violent crime is on the decline, actually, not the recline. So why do we need more police? And in that time that violent crime has been falling, we've hired more and more police. Now, a lot of people will say, well, it's because we got more police that crime's going down. No, crime actually started dropping long before they started raising the number of police. And there's no evidence that police in any way affect violent crime, the number of police. In fact, some of the outlying cities and states that have had actual increases in violent crime have some of the largest police forces. So that negates that whole theory right there. And plus, the number of crimes police actually proactively stop is almost non-existent. So there's no correlation between the number of police and the number of violent crimes. And also, another thing you got to remember, violent crimes right now are at the lowest they've been since the 1960s. But, you might say, well, they were lower in the 50s and the 40s. Well, in the 50s and the 40s, a lot of experts will tell you, don't pay too much attention to those numbers, because in the 40s, 50s, and even in the 60s, a lot of crimes that are listed as violent crimes today were not considered violent crimes then, and they weren't tracked. So therefore, right now, we might be the lowest we've been since we've been recording violent crimes. So in a case like that, where violent crime is dropping drastically, why would we need more police? We don't need more police. We need fewer police on the public payrolls. Now, the unions don't like that. We used to have an auxiliary police force here in Vancouver that did things like direct traffic at the county fair, but those weren't paid people. Those were volunteers that took some training and volunteered their time. That meant they weren't paying dues to the union. And that meant they were taking manpower hours away from police, and they weren't justifying keeping larger police forces. If we want more police on the streets, a lot of people will say, well, we need those police just in case we have a terrorist attack, etc. Well, having something that happens maybe once every 10, 20 years doesn't justify keeping 3 or 4 times more people than you need on a payroll all year long. If you want more police for times like that, institute a civilian deputy program. Have people volunteer to go take paid training, like a kind of a reduced police course training. And then during times of activation, they can act as deputies. If a sheriff needs more men because of an emergency, he's got a roster of people that are trained and ready to go. Good, responsible citizens that aren't drawing a paycheck all the time. And another bad thing about the police officers, and another thing that can show you that they don't need more police officers right now, is how they spend their days. Most of them spend their days being the worst type of tax collector, going out handing out tickets that no one really needs to hand out to people that aren't endangering anybody, going out and seeking out low-level drug crimes so that they can seize and auction property and fuel the public prison systems, the private prison systems. So that's what they're spending a lot of their time doing. And do we really need more tax collectors on the payroll of the city? No, we don't. Like I said, we need fewer police. Crime rates don't justify having more police. Nothing justifies having more police. The fact the way they spend their hours now shows we don't need them. So why does everyone keep saying we want them? Well, there's only 2 reasons. One is because you want more tax collectors out there. If you're one of the people that benefits from that, like the city council and the mayors and the governors, etc. Well, yeah, you want those people out there seizing good hard-earned property from people who did nothing really wrong, nothing drastically wrong. That's one of the reasons I hate Jeff Sessions. He's all for that. He's all for, we found a joint in your car, we're seizing your car and auctioning it off for the city, without even due process. He's a big fan of that. It's one of the reasons I don't like Jeff Sessions. So you either want them doing that, or you want a private standing army. And to me, that's what we've been moving towards. Even a lot of sheriffs in a lot of counties in this country now have said, hey, the police forces are moving towards private armies and we don't like it. The state police has basically become a national guard and we don't like it because they're more powerful than us and they shouldn't be. And a lot of city police, same way. Here locally, we've got a sheriff that's been very vocal about the fact that the city police here have become a militarized force that could overpower him easily. And he's supposed to be the leading authority in this county on law enforcement. And it's not a good thing. So if you want to say we need more police, There's no way you can justify that. You can't justify that through violent crime rates. You can't justify that by what they're actually doing. Like I said, we need a civilian deputy force. But other than that, we need less police. The only way you could say we need more police, like I said, is you're someone that wants to collect those taxes, or you're one of those same people, the governors, the politicians, senators, congressmen, or just the wealthy elite that like the idea of having your own private standing armies inside every county that could overcome any resistance that you might face to your authority.